Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Talk With, a very special episode of Talk With, because I've decided to bring on my granny. Introduce yourself.
Oh, hello. Yes, I'm Rory's granny. My name is Mary.
Well, it's great to have you on the show. It feels quite weird interviewing a family member. That's not really something I've ever done before, but it's really nice to bring you on the show. How are you?
Yeah, it's a bit bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. Uh, I went out. I took my little dog. Well, I've got a little Scotty dog called Victor, and took him out today, and it was very wet, so we got a bit kind of drenched.
Mm.
But we're okay now, all dried off.
Yeah, I mean, it was really miserable out there today. I mean, from what I saw
Yeah.
when I went out, yeah, it's not really great weather in Brighton, where I am at the moment. It's always raining all the time. But yeah, I believe Victor's been on the podcast show before, actually. If you hear him in
Yes.
the background, yeah, he has. I believe I introduced him as a special guest once. Um, yeah, I think that was for a friend of mine named Eamon who I brought on the pod, which was yeah, that was he made for a great co-host. Um,
He likes the sound of his own voice,
oh,
Victor.
he does, he really does. But he's a lovely dog, and yeah, absolutely lovely. But I want to ask you a few questions, obviously. One of the first things I really want to ask you about is something we've talked about before, as with many of these subjects, but not gone into too great depth, and that's your kind of you you used to work as a teacher, and I just want to ask you about your time working as a teacher and the merits, the difficulties, and yeah, take it away. What was it like working as a teacher?
Uh, well, I loved it actually because it's no 2 days are the same. There's always something different, and I just love the children. They're great because they're like I taught 7-year-olds,
Mm.
and at that age they're like sponges, and they take in all this information, and they're just lovely, and they can read and they can write and they can spell and things, quite well
Hmm.
by that age, and they're just lovely to teach.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was seven and in school, it was a well, it was it was an interesting school, I'll say that. But it was a really interesting age to be, really, because of that, because of those factors. I mean, it's probably one of those years where it's kind of a defining moment because when you're 5 and 6, it's like as you said, you don't really know how to write well, but you're a bit more developed once you're 7, and that's when you suddenly start taking more in, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, no, definitely. You take in all the information and you can work things out, and um I just thought that age is lovely. I love teaching that age. And I was teaching in London, and
Mm,
I was mainly teaching Asian children.
mm,
Um, they were lovely. Some of them had to translate for their parents because their parents didn't speak very much English.
mm.
Um, and but very very clever, very receptive, and the parents were very supportive, which was lovely. It was really nice to have support from the parents.
Yeah.
And oh, I don't know what else to consider. Yes, I did special needs as well.
Yeah, Mum mentioned that to me earlier, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
And
which I really enjoyed as well. I taught in a special school,
yeah.
and also I did special needs for in a mainstream stream school,
Mm.
stream school. Sorry,
No, no,
um, which was lovely. You feel as though you've achieved something with children when they made they make progress, and
yeah.
they they suddenly get something, and you think, Yes, that's great. It's really good. It's very satisfying. Teaching is a very satisfying job.
Yeah.
But it can be very tiring and it can be difficult. There's a lot of paperwork to do, a lot of meetings to do, a lot of appraisals and all sorts of things. And a lot of it's paperwork, going on courses, and but it's uh it's the children. It's the children that matter. They're the ones.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
Lovely.
you know, and when growing up, I mean, I don't think anyone really gets to understands the perspective of the teacher until they're around my age. I mean, you know, constant and you know, I think it's a yeah, I think it's a great profession, and I know my cousin, for everyone at home, Iona wants to go into teaching, I believe.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's doing some teaching already, yeah. And
yeah,
she's teaching at kind of more adults,
mm,
a bit people that are a bit older, in their kind of late teens, I think.
yeah. I mean,
She's teaching English.
there's
But
definitely
a primary
differences
school
there.
teacher teaches everything, every subject you have to do. Um, so, so that can be quite challenging.
Mm.
Uh,
What was it like being accustomed to that? Because as you mentioned, there are distinct differences between teaching older people compared to youngins, such as such as the 7-year-old tutor. What was it like getting accustomed to every subject? Were there any difficulties there with that sort of
oh yes, and the thing was you didn't just have different subjects; you had different abilities,
mm,
children with different abilities. So you had to differentiate. You had to do lessons for specific pupils
yeah,
who may have learned different learning needs, or maybe especially gifted, or because special needs is not just people with learning difficulties, illness conditions. It's also for gifted children,
mm,
and sometimes they can get left behind a bit.
mm, yeah. And it's as mentioned, it's a wonderful profession, and I'm glad you had a great time being a teacher, and I'm glad you know, yeah. I mean, did you always want to be a teacher, or what was the
No,
journey?
well, I went to college, and I wanted to be a nurse,
Hmm,
and I went and did a pre-nursing course when I was 16, and I did that for a couple of years, and then I decided I changed my mind. I don't know why. Just
yeah,
came out of the blue. I just thought, no, I want to be a teacher, and so I went on a teacher's training course
yeah.
and became a teacher, or primary teacher.
And
They're,
so
they're,
some,
they're quite different.
yeah.
The primary and the secondary school teaching is very different.
Mm,
Yeah. I think I knew a secondary school teacher, and he did something. I don't know what he did, but he got told off, and they said that he should go and work in a primary school. And
mm,
up till then, he'd been really quite snobby to me, you know. He'd go, "Oh, you work in a, you're a primary teacher,"
hmm.
and then he had to go and work in a primary school, and he came up to me about 3 months later. He says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's he apologizes. I didn't realise it was so hard, such hard work.
Uh,
So you know, you need different skills
mm.
for different ages.
Yeah, and there's certainly difficulties that come with both both fields, both you know, I think as I said, it's a wonderful profession, and I think there's a lot of difficulty to being a teacher that I don't think many people understand until they're much older, because when you're a kid, you're too busy you know, being rebellious and being and you know, not really obeying, or you know, not really responding well to teachers because you're a kid, you know, you're going to mess around. But I think there's a certain, I imagine it takes a lot of patience. That's for sure.
Yeah, yes, you've got to have a lot of patience in there, but you've got to make your lessons interesting. You know,
Mm,
it takes a lot of preparation, and I never had too many difficulties with behaviour. Yeah, it depends how you treat the children, doesn't it? They
Yeah,
respond to you.
exactly. And I think a great teacher can live in the memories of people for a long time, all their lives. I think even when we've gone out for meals, we've come across students that you taught, and there's a certain level of gratitude and respect there that I love seeing whenever I go out with you and we go for annual meals and so forth. It's
Yes, it's lovely, isn't it?
I imagine it's quite
That's a big thing in my life is obviously my family, you know.
mm,
The family is everything really. That's the stabilizing thing in your life is having a good family around you and
mm,
being part of a good family. I was lucky. I was brought up with a good family.
yeah,
It carries on
likewise.
from me.
Mm?
It carries on from to the next generation. You know, I hope I brought up my children okay, and they brought you up okay. You know,
Oh
so
yes, oh
it
yes.
goes
I mean,
on from generation to generation. But
yeah, I
you can
oh,
see when there are problems in a family how that can carry on as
mm,
well.
oh yeah.
Um, and if from generation to generation see the problems going on, and some children manage to get out of it,
Mm.
uh, go in a different direction. You know.
Yeah, thankfully, of course. I mean, thankfully, I've had a great family as well. I mean, I've had a brilliant family, best family in the world, I like to say. I mean, it's wonderful, and I'm ever so thankful to you, to Mum, to Dad, Connie, everyone in our family. I'm really just truly thankful for. I mean, I wouldn't be here doing this or anything. I wouldn't be here in the first place, but I think my love of Doctor Who, my love of life in general, and everything about it, and getting to know my friends, all of that goes back to my
I'll
family
tell you
and you.
something. I've gone back to teaching, and teachers having an effect on your life. I remember when I was 15, and I
Mm,
had an English teacher. Always liked English, and he was brilliant. He was really, really good, and
mm,
he took an interest in me and my studies. And he suggested that I do what we were called GCEs then.
mm,
Um, that I do them a year early, the English.
mm.
So I did, and I passed them. He was just such a lovely, interesting, excellent teacher. And then when I went back to school the next year, he'd left,
Mm.
and I was really upset because he was such a brilliant teacher. And then I found out that he left for two reasons. Uh, one, the first reason was because he was gay,
Mm.
and at that time in the 50s, they they wouldn't have that, and they sacked him. They
Christ,
found out.
that's awful. That's
Yes, this was
inhumane.
awful. It was dreadful. In the 50s, it was a criminal offence. Um, so I was really upset about that because he was a brilliant teacher and such a nice man.
Mm.
And then he got leukemia and he
Oh,
died. And it was,
that's,
I just thought, what a sad life because of people's prejudice, you know?
and I mean, you
Really
can
upset.
definitely, you can
And
see those.
that stayed with me all my life. And because of him, I actually went into teaching.
Mm, that's, that's,
Well, I've never told anybody that before, so everybody knows now.
yeah. I mean, I mean, it's wonderful having those teachers that have an impact on you. I mean, my English and history teachers especially led me down the creative path that I am now, and to my film tutors now. And I think if I didn't have those brilliant teachers, not to say that in any other subjects I didn't have brilliant tutors, but in those subjects specifically, the lessons were so interesting. But talking about the prejudice in education, that's definitely carried on in different shapes and sizes in politicians nowadays. I mean, with people with politicians banning books that are integral to that have views that are in support of the LGBTQ plus community, and it's quite horrible seeing those prejudices are still around, still continuing, and just at the sight of a couple from the LGBTQ plus community in any book or TV show or film being shown to children, because there's outrage, and there shouldn't be, because I mean, thing is, throughout the ages, we've had tons upon tons of representations of straight couples in fiction uh and being shown to kids. I think it's up to kids to make their own decisions and to be taught about everything. School teaches us about our communities, about life. I think if we only show them one side to that, if we only show them one side of history, one side of literature, um, if we only show them that, you know, straight couples of media, if we only show them the straight side of history, as per se, then the world become a much darker place, and it's sad to see those prejudices still continue in different shapes and forms. And
It's
it,
a strange story. In that situation with this teacher of mine, the children, all my age, kind of 15-year-olds, 16, 14, 15, 16, were all really supportive of him.
mm,
And they were absolutely horrified at what had happened.
yeah,
And it was the adults. And there's kind of a horrible situation that people found themselves in because of their sexuality. It was awful, but the actual young people were far more supportive of him.
yeah, and I think I think that's the thing. I mean, with young people in particular, is that we've got to move forward. We can't let those prejudices continue, and it's a shame that they have. It's a shame that
Yeah.
they, you know, uh,
I,
thankfully.
also, another thing is that I don't know if you've seen these uh, emails that were sent by Matt Hancock,
Oh yes, I have. I have.
Gavin Williamson, and you see their attitude to teachers is just horrendous.
Oh, absolutely,
Absolutely,
absolutely horrendous.
I was so angry. That really made me angry. They say one thing from in the public face, and then behind your back. So
Mm,
I mean, I don't know what her agenda was. That Oakshott lady. I don't
mm.
know what her agenda was, but I'm glad she released them because otherwise we wouldn't have seen them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And well, they would go to the inquiry, but that doesn't mean to say you would see them.
Mm,
They can just get rid of them, can't they?
yeah, exactly.
Forgotten. So I'm glad that she did that. Whatever
Oh,
her
very much so.
agenda was, I don't know. I don't know anything about her.
I can only hope that the agenda was to share the truth, really, because some things are so abhorrent, so appalling that they have
Yeah.
to be seen. They have to be seen. I mean, the fact that it was hidden from us, the fact that these rhetorics and awful remarks are in the darkness, in the shadows.
Yeah. Sorry.
Someone has to spread them around. Someone has to show light on them, because that's who's running our country currently, and it's
Well, that's
appalling.
right. Yeah. It's appalling.
Um,
I don't suppose you want to get into politics.
it's completely fine. I mean, I bring anyone and everyone onto this show, and it's nice to have discussions like that. But saying that, moving on to something else that we discussed earlier that I'd like to bring up on this show is that this is a Doctor Who channel, of course, and you watched the first ever episode of Doctor Who.
Yes.
What do you kind of remember about
Well,
the time of it coming out?
uh, I think I was about 17. What was it, 1963?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I was 17, 18, 17. I was lying on the settee and I was just watching telly. And this program came on.
Mm,
Uh, and you'd never seen anything like it before. you know, the concept of the time space was completely kind of new, really, in this format. I mean, it had other things like H.G. Wells and the Time Machine and stuff like that, but this was kind of for children, really, young people,
Mm.
and it was. I was quite kind of taken aback by it, really. It was really good. I enjoyed it, and I wanted to see no more. And so I watched that first series all the time, all the way through,
Mm.
till the regenerations. They made it different,
Mm.
other programs, and they made it special
Yeah, I think
because
it's
it was a really good idea that you could actually change somebody completely, but I still have the same backstory, but change the look and the character. That
mm.
was very clever.
Yeah, and I think there's something so special about that concept and how it's led to from you watching it then, and my dad watched it from the first episode onwards as well, to me watching it now, and to me being so infatuated with the concept from
I
when
don't
I
think
was
he watched
little.
it from when he was a little boy,
No,
because I'm quite a lot older than him.
mm,
He must have watched it on when it was recording.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, he definitely he remembered the Pertwee years, but he absolutely loved the Hartnell and Troughton years because, of course,
yes,
while he would have been around free when it started, much like when I was actually, I was free when it started as well. Um, and you know, I imagine he Hartnell was the one he kind of grew up with when he was a wee lad, and then he went on to Troughton and then Pertwee and Baker. He wasn't really much of an 80s fan when it came to the show because he'd moved on at that point. He was a, you know, he kind of he caught it occasionally, but he was in the you know, he was yeah, he was away and doing his own thing and being an engineer and all that. And
yeah, he
yeah,
kind of. There's times where you kind of drop out of it and then come
yeah,
back to it.
and
You
I'm
know,
glad that
then there was a break anyway,
yeah,
um,
the
before
cancellation
David
years.
Eccleston came back.
And I'm kind of sorry, what were you?
No, go on.
I was going to say, as much as I don't like the show being cancelled, and as much as there were some amazing ideas, I'm kind of glad that there was that space there because I got a fresh start with the show when I was growing up, much like my dad did when he was growing up.
Yes,
And as much as I hate the cancellation and I hate the way the show got cancelled, I'm glad that there was kind of that
now break.
yeah, in a way.
And maybe it regenerated it.
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, maybe it needed a break. You don't know, sometimes they can work to his advantage.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
back with a new doctor and new writers and storylines. And
I mean,
sometimes,
saying that though, would have loved more McCoy, and it's a shame. I think it got cut off a bit too soon. You know, I think more McCoy. I mean, who can argue with that? But yeah, Hmm?
I wonder
uh,
what the next one, I wonder what he'll be like.
yeah.
The
So
because there's the original writers, what's his name, is coming back, isn't he?
Russell T Davis. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll get a few
Yeah,
David Tennant specials first, and then the David Tennant is the 14th Doctor, and then Ncuti is the 15th Doctor.
yeah.
Which is it's going to be wonderful. Ncuti is such a good choice for the role, and I look forward to having David Tennant back for a time.
Yeah,
And
he'll be back for a little while, won't he?
yeah, he'll be back throughout 2023 until Christmas. Well, back for this year until Christmas, which is when
Yeah.
I believe Ncuti will take the reins as the Doctor. Although there will actually be some people are saying there's going to be like this mini episode in Red Nose Day with David Tennant. So it could be as soon as that we'll see David Tennant take up the role again. Should be exciting, very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, looking back over the years, I've had so many different characters. it could go on and on and on forever, couldn't it?
Yeah, it really could. I mean,
Because of the regeneration, you can go on and on and on.
I think it's one of those staples that is that will always stay with us, really. That will always stay with us as with the UK as a whole and worldwide now. And it's been worldwide for a while, but I think with like I think Doctor Who's now on par with James Bond, Sherlock, and other icons from this country. I think they've all got the advantage of having that ability to be played by different actors that really keeps it alive and be written by such a diverse amount of writers that and diverse amount of producers, directors. I mean, it's constantly changing, which is amazing for a show that's
Yeah.
60 years old.
Also, the science has moved on so much
Mm,
from back in 1963 all the way up to now, and it's
yeah.
still and it's going faster and faster. So the writers have got to keep up with and go ahead of the science, don't they? And
Mm.
try and anticipate what's going to happen next.
And I think that's something wonderful about it is because back in the 60s there were episodes set in like 2018, the 2020s. I mean, even back in 2010, there was an episode set in 2020, which
Yeah,
I think hasn't. I mean, they didn't really mention. Of course, nobody could predict COVID, so obviously it's not entirely accurate. But because there's like, it's an episode that can be easily slotted in because even though not everyone's wearing masks, they're all family, locals, etc. Even though they should be, it can be justified by the fact that it was written 10 years ago. So it's interesting seeing what people thought the future was going to be like, and then obviously they didn't realize the show would reach this point. They didn't,
yes,
I mean, even I think it was mentioned in an episode depicting 2012 and in 2006 that they didn't expect the show to reach that point, and it brings me so much joy that it has because obviously
yeah, it's got a life of its own, hasn't it?
yeah, I mean it really has, and I'm really glad that we got that season during COVID as well because I don't think it would have I think the BBC were this close to just axing that season as a whole, which would have done a lot of damage because, yeah, but I'm glad we got that. I'm glad they were able to pull something together. And yeah, it's a fantastic show. This really is. I'm going to have to end this call
Brings
now.
a lot of diversity and a lot of happiness to a lot of people, isn't it? And also, it's educational as well.
Yes.
Um, I mean, I not everybody would agree with me probably, but I love the ones about like Vincent van Gogh and Rosa Parks and people
Yeah.
like I like those episodes. But I know
Um,
not everybody agrees with me, but
I mean,
I
um,
like education. You see,
you say that, but a lot of people love the Vincent Van Gogh one. It's one of my personal favorites, actually. I mean, and Rosa is such a beautifully directed and written and acted episode. It really is one of the all-time greats. I mean, I think they're both highly regarded, really. I think a lot of people love that aspect of Doctor Who, and I'm glad Jodie Zero brought more of that in, I'd say. With like
yeah,
we've always had celebrity historicals, which is what people call them, which is like where we have like a well-known figure being delved into, like Shakespeare, Dickens, uh, Agatha Christie. But I feel like with the 13th Doctor Zero, it did allow for a diverse look at history. So we had Demons of the Punjab, which was um, Rosa, all of it. Mary Seacole was in an episode. I mean, it is genuinely. I absolutely love that era for what it did with the historicals and in general.
yes,
Um,
I enjoyed that. I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna have
Because
to.
you get a lot of kind of like stories from Greek myths and legends being
Mm,
incorporated into the stories as well. You know,
yes.
like turning to stone and all that.
Mm,
The weeping angels was like Medusa.
yes.
Uh,
Well. there were Gorgons in the Sarah Jane Adventures, and there's always like even back in the Troughton years there were I believe they actually did have Medusa and Doctor Who at one point. It was but yeah, there's tons of myths and legends. Robin Hood was in Doctor Who.
Okay.
It's rather wonderful, this show. And we're back. So, just a few more questions I want to ask now. Primarily about there was this lovely conversation we were having a night ago, a few nights ago now, which was it was about quite a depressing subject, but we talked about time um and mortality and all that, and I just wondered if we could incite that conversation again, because I thought it was rather wonderful talking about it, because I believe it's a conversation that's it's lovely to have, because it's one that I used to not I used to not like having it, but I thought it'd be nice to have it on this kind of interview as well.
Yeah,
Um, so
definitely.
yeah, just in in general, what are your kind of thoughts on the matter about on both time and mortality in life, really?
Oh, that is a big, big question, isn't it?
It's probably the deepest questions I've asked on this show, but I feel like it was a wonderful conversation we had the other day, so I just wanted to, yeah,
Yes. Um, well, it's very difficult because I mean, at some time, everybody at some point in their life will experience a loss of somebody very near to them.
mm,
Um, and until you have experienced that, you don't understand anything about it, really. Excuse me, my throat's going. Um, so it's a very hard road to travel, and it's you go through processes. I mean, I've lost quite a few people in my life, and it never gets any easier that way. But it can be different. It
yeah,
can be slightly different depending on who you have lost, who has gone, and it can be different as well if you have any beliefs or anything, which can help people's
mm,
uh, way of coping with things.
yeah,
Some people find having a strong belief in religious belief helps them a lot, and some
mm,
people don't at all. Um, so it's a very, very personal thing, and it's a very lonely thing as well, and
yeah,
it's very difficult to talk about to somebody. Um,
yeah.
I don't know what you. I mean, you've had a terrible loss in life, in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my dad, and recently Tommy, of course, my cat, who's also been on this this podcast show. Um, as I mentioned, Victor being on it, but Tommy was also on it at one point. He decided to cameo in an interview with a friend of mine named James York, which was it's wonderful looking back on that one now in retrospect and in memory, and having those videos and so forth. I really I really loved discussing it with you the other night, because I'm grateful to have plenty of people I can talk to about subjects such as this, such as yourself, and I feel like Mum and Connie and all of them, and all my friends and everyone are really supportive, and that's lovely. Um, I think I bring up this because of our discussion the other night, and because my dad used to bring up mortality and death all the time, and it's not a conversation I'd ever really wanted to have at the time, because I didn't understand it, didn't understand loss. But it was quite I wish I did more now, but even then, I remember how I used to bring it up at like Christmas dinner. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
uh, it was always at the most inconvenient times, but um, but I loved having that conversation with you the other day, and I think there was a really prolific question you brought up about finding meaning especially when we're older, which I love to discuss with you about. And my answer was love, I believe, as cheesy and cliche as that is. I think there would be nothing without it, and it's wonderful. And I think
Well, it's
living
the
in the
basis
now.
of everything, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, um, yeah.
If you,
Uh,
if you don't, if you don't have love in your life, in whichever way it is, you don't have anything. You
precisely.
can love things in different ways, and you love different people in different ways. Um, you love your dad in one way, and maybe sometime, sometime in the future, you'll find love with somebody else. A special person in your life.
Yeah. And I
And you
think,
love your mum in some ways, you love your sister in a different way, you love your pets in a different way, and
mm,
you love your friends in a different way. And
yeah,
so it's all different kinds of, it's not just one specific.
yeah. I completely understand. I think it's wonderful in all of its forms, and I think during that call the other day, we were when we were talking about all this, I quoted Star Trek, which is quite strange for me because I haven't really watched Star Trek. But a friend of mine quoted it to me, and I feel like it's really prolific and really great quote to define all the answer to that question. It's someone once told me that time was a predator that stalked us all our lives. But I rather believe that time is a companion who goes with us on the journey and reminds us to cherish every moment because they'll never come again. What we leave behind us is not as important as how we lived. And I think that's such a genuine quote, and it's one that I choose to live by in its own way. Yeah, and I think I cherish every moment.
Well,
Yeah,
I think you probably do now
mm,
more than ever because you know what you've lost, and um, but it's no use looking back really and regretting anything.
oh no,
Um,
yeah,
you can look back at what you've learned and what you've um, become.
yeah, and I mean, I cherish every moment with you, and I'm always telling you that you're the best granny in the universe, and I mean it every single time. I've I absolutely love our time together, and and cherish every moment, and yeah, yeah, that's
Well, we
probably
have
the.
some laughs as well, don't we?
Hmm?
We have some laughs as
Oh
well.
yes, can't miss out on the laughs. But yeah, I did want to ask that question, even though it's a quite unusually deep question for this show. But I really loved that conversation we had the other night, and I think there was something so genuine and lovely about it, and it gives a real insight into both of us and how we
Yeah.
view life that I just wanted to talk about. Moving more back onto Doctor Who, of course. I remember when I was growing up, you and Grandad gave me this remote control Dalek, and I remember all of the Christmases we shared, where you brought me all these Doctor Who toys and gifts, and I know buying Christmas presents has become increasingly more difficult because of how much Doctor Who I have. I just wanted to just hear about that from your perspective and watching me grow up with Doctor Who and what it was like enabling me, as it were.
I'm just, I'm just amazed at the knowledge that you've gained from such a young age. Uh, it's extraordinary. Uh, I mean, you seem to be able to know everything about Doctor Who. Like, it really is quite extraordinary. And you've got such an one thing I regret is you didn't keep you. I didn't buy two of things
Oh,
of the same thing. One you could play with, one you could put away.
oh,
So
yeah. I used to break everything growing up.
you used to break everything, didn't you? I remember you used to collect all the little heads.
Well, they
Take the
weren't
head.
supposed to be little heads. They were supposed to be attached.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then you put them on different figures. That was one.
Yeah, funnily enough, that is quite a common practice now, but made by professionals who make customs and custom figures of other characters using
Yeah.
heads. But it's yeah, maybe not something for a 6-year-old to do, or like a
No,
5-year-old. Yeah,
uh, and you used to have him out in the garden drawing your little figures.
yes, I remember. I remember like growing up and doing my own little adventures with them and
Yeah.
involving my cousins who I'm sure they had a great time, but didn't really understand it as much as I did. I'm not sure, but
And they joined in.
mm,
They joined in. I
nice.
think they had fun. You
Yeah,
know, 'cause it's something different, and it, it's just a fun time, wasn't it?
yeah, and I
Uh,
mean,
but when you were growing up.
and I remember I used to when you were living in the caravan park, because for anyone watching at home, my granny has lived in 3 locations so far, a flat, caravan, and another flat, as of recording. Um, and at the caravan park, I remember like you'd used to come up with these stories
Uh-huh.
based on these fairy books. I
Yeah,
can't
that's
remember
right.
what they were called, but I just thought I'd bring it up to recall some memories of that time. Because I also remember like there was this rocking horse that I used to stand on, and I
That's
used
right.
to pretend to be Indiana Jones and uh, used to reenact these short stories about it all. And
Yeah, I used to tell you and Connie lots of stories, didn't I? It was true, and you used to join in with all the different characters and things. They'd go to different planets, and the green planet and the yellow planet, and
mm,
different things. They have different stories about them. I used to enjoy that. I don't
yeah,
know if
so
you
did I.
enjoyed it, but I
Oh
enjoyed it.
yeah, I very much enjoyed it because I remember like we used to grow up playing that game with like the paper that you would fold and you'd create all
All right.
these random stories. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, consequences, that's the one. I absolutely loved the stories you'd come up with, and you'd read to us from these books about fairies, and I can't remember what the title of the series was, but it'd be a different short story about a specific fairy, which was really, really sweet, and I absolutely loved that caravan park, and yeah,
Yeah, it was fun, wasn't
it
it?
was really fun, and um, one of the last questions I want to ask you about is, because we've kind of discussed general periods from our lives. I mean, one thing I didn't ask about you being a teacher was that you were actually a teacher to me at one point when I was being
Yes.
homeschooled. What
Yeah.
was that like from your perspective, teaching me and teaching me about art?
Oh well, I like art. I love art. Um, and it was really good actually. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you did,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you learned quite a bit. We got that really nice book, didn't we? And
Mm,
you learned about perspective and about ellipses and
yes,
drawing it
and
like um,
drawing a
uh,
3D square, I remember.
yeah, getting the perspective right um, and all sorts of things like that and shading. We did a lot about shading and yeah. Oh, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed our art lessons.
I really did. It was a really, really fun time. And
Yeah, we kind of interacted. It
mm,
kind of things like that can bring you closer. It's
yeah,
you're kind of relaxed, and it wasn't like teaching. It was kind of just like having fun and relaxing.
yeah. And I remember around that time as well, I think it was your birthday around that time. I remember I got a message for you from Tom Baker.
Oh,
That
right, yeah, I got that.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I just remembered it now about Doctor Who and bringing up. I got Tom Baker to record a convention message when he
Yeah,
did conventions. Um,
yeah, I got it. I got it on a stick thing.
yeah, and I remember that, and it was there was a giant minion at your party, if I recall, and a character artist. That was fun. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you've moved from place to place over the time. What's it been like from your perspective to do that? To go from a flat to a caravan to where you are now?
Well, we moved. Grandad and I moved down from London um, before you were born,
Mm,
and we moved up to a house on the West Hill, a
mm,
big tall house, which and then from there we moved to the house that Andrew's in, your Uncle Andrew's in.
Yeah.
And then then we moved down to the old town. Sorry, my voice is going.
That's completely fine.
No, but yeah, we moved down to the old town into the flat on George Street.
Mm.
And that was fine. It was a bit noisy. It
Mm.
was a very lively place. And after when Grandad died, I stayed there, but I wasn't very happy there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very nice. A lot of things changed,
Mm.
and they were very noisy and quite aggressive. So
Yeah.
that's why I moved to the caravan,
Yeah.
and I was there for about 3 years or so.
Mm. It was a really
Yeah.
nice caravan park.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was lovely, and that's where I got Victor.
Yes, Victor.
Yeah, my friend Jackie, she said to me, "You need a dog," and I said, "No, I don't." And then she just came and put Victor in my arms, and he's 16 in April 1st, and
Yeah,
I've had
blimey.
him 14 years now. So,
He's a
and,
wonderful dog. He's a wonderful family
oh,
one to have.
and
Yeah.
then I decided to. It was very noisy down there in the hills and the steps. So I decided to move to this place I'm
Yeah.
in now, which is a retirement place for old people over 55.
Mm.
But it's fine. It's okay. I just keep myself to myself.
Yeah.
I talk to people if I want to. And Victor's got a little balcony he can sit out on.
Mm.
And we're just near the beach. We can see the beach, see the sea. Get great sunsets,
Mm.
looking at sunset from the balcony. And yeah, it's fine. So I'm quite happy.
Yeah. I mean,
And
yeah.
you look back in your life and you think, well, I wonder what that was all about. But done some good things in my time. I think
Oh, a lot. Yeah, a lot of good
I've had,
things. I mean,
I've had some happy times and some sad times, and
yeah.
it's all life, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I can. Yeah. You've done a lot of brilliant things, and I wouldn't be the man I am now without you. I mean, I wouldn't be without you, mum, dad, everyone. But you've given me so much, and you've given me so much joy and love, and always taken care of me. And you've fueled my creativity over the years. I know for a fact that I wouldn't be doing this in the same way that I do now without you. I mean, without you, mum, dad, well, all of the family. But without you, I would not be the man I am now. And I'm proud of who I am now, and I've learned a lot throughout my years, and without you, I wouldn't have learned so much that has defined who I am now. And I couldn't be more proud to have you as a granny. And um, yeah, I'm happy saying that on here, and I'm happy talking about that because you're wonderful. You are the best granny in the universe. And
No, getting me embarrassed now. I remember we're going to start singing Brighton, the Van Gogh thing,
Mm,
immersive exhibition. Is it next
yeah,
month?
yeah, we've got that coming up, and I'm sure
That should be
we'll
good.
yeah, and we'll have our annual Christmas. We go out to eat at a restaurant at Christmas every year. I don't think we managed
We did,
last year, but
yeah.
we did go see Upstart
Oh,
Crow, didn't we?
go in June instead,
Yes.
halfway between Christmas.
But we did go see Upstart Crow live last
Oh,
year.
yeah, that
Uh,
was really
oh yeah, it was wonderful.
enjoyed that. Yeah, it was for my birthday, wasn't it? But it was December,
Mm,
just before Christmas,
yeah.
3rd of December. Yeah, that was really good. He's very clever,
Mm,
uh, David Mitchell, isn't he?
yes,
The
and Ben Elton, of course.
Ben Elton, I like his writing. Uh,
Wonderful writer.
yeah, he's done so many good things and Blackadder and everything.
Mm,
He's a very clever writer. I like some of his books. I've read quite a few of his books.
yes,
Uh,
yeah.
clever.
But
Uh,
I'm glad we were able to see that, and especially after the pandemic and everything. I mean, and I'm glad you were able to move as well because I can't imagine what it was like living in your old flat within the confines of the pandemic. Although you were telling me during the pandemic about walking Victor and your walks, and
I
And
was
it,
very lucky, yeah, that way, because people with dogs were allowed to take them out for a walk. And
yeah,
I actually met a few people kind of when I was out for walks, you'd see the same people out, you
mm,
know, and I still speak to them now if I see them, and give them a wave, you know. It was strange. It was a very strange atmosphere because you were the only people out with
mm,
dogs.
yeah. I,
And it's very strange. There was nobody else around. It was lovely. And there was very little traffic. There was nothing, no planes going over.
mm.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I actually. I mean, of course, we had to keep our distance, but we did go for a few walks at the pandemic. I mean, it was a night. It was wonderful for that, and
Oh,
uh,
we're very lucky because we've got the whole of
very
the beach.
lucky. I mean, a lot of people didn't have that experience, and
We've
it's
got the West Hill.
yeah,
We've got, you've
mm,
got the countryside. You've got the beach. And you know, you're not stuck in a town or a city.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's around the last question I had to ask. I mean, there's a question that I ask everyone who comes on the show that I can end it off with, and it's how do you kind of deal with burnout? You know, being burnt out about creative stuff or anything really.
Oh, I used to get that from teaching.
Yeah,
After, you know, when you come to the end of the summer term, I used to kind of collapse for about a week.
mm,
Literally just kind of go, oh, collapse. And I'd be in tears and I didn't know why. And it's just
mm,
because you're so stressed with everything, and then suddenly you're relaxed and it all kind of comes out. And it'd take about a week, and then I could start kind of relaxing and enjoying my holiday.
mm,
But
yeah,
yes, and I would, yeah, you get burnt out teaching, and just like the nurses and things, they're under so much stress. There's so many people under so much stress that you do get burnt out, and you just have to shut off completely and say,
mm,
"That's it. I'm just going to relax now in whatever way you can.
yeah.
Um, go to bed for a week or whatever."
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful way of putting it and a wonderful place to end this to talk with. Thank you for coming on. And as a final message, because I know we've discussed a lot of deep subjects today and a lot of political subjects, but I just want to say thank you for everything, really. I mean, I know I went on a very complimentary tangent about how you've helped define who I am and how wonderful you are, but you are amazing. And you really are the best granny in the universe, and I can only thank you really for helping me become who I am and just
Well, thank
being a really supportive, just just being really supportive and really wonderful and just you know I cherish every moment we share, as mentioned in the quote earlier, and I'm glad I'm able to express that and always say how important you are to me and important the entire family is to me and how you've all defined me and all these different ways. But thank you for everything, and I highly respect you. And you're just wonderful. You are amazing. You are just brilliant, and I can't
you.
thank you enough. And
Hello.
that is that is the that is my final note for this podcast episode. And yeah, thank you for joining me today.
Always a pleasure.
Um,
You're. I love all my grandchildren. They're all beautiful. And now you need to go and lie down in a dark room with a cup of coffee.
right, well,
Okay, I'll see you soon.
I'll
You're
speak to
off.
you soon.
You're off the riverside.
Yes, I'll be off to Riverside this Saturday. At the
Yeah.
time of recording this, of course. And if anyone's there who sees this episode, make sure to say hello. And for everyone watching, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and all that. And yeah, thank you for joining me, Granny. Love you so much, best Granny ever. And
Oh,
I'll speak to you soon.
yeah. See you soon, Rory.
See you soon, Granny. Love you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye bye. Bye, Granny.